Mike and Mine podcast. Yo, Hudson Hot, Scotty Blaisdell, Alan Wagner, LMFT. How's it? How you guys doing?
Hey, hey now.
Doing good. How are you doing?
Which
I'm
one of us are you talking to?
well,
We'll
I'm talking to
begin.
you, like you with the leopard print or the giraffe print. It looks really cool.
Oh, does it look cool? It's leopard. It's one of my favorite cheap ass jumpsuits. This is one of these purchases I was very happy about. Not all I feel that way about. Today's
Yeah.
podcast, do you know what we're going to talk about? Why did I buy that?
I Isn't it weird for anybody listening to this or watching this rather that you're seeing Hudson without glasses? She's always been the person with glasses on the radio. Was she like that with you, Scotty?
Well, it's funny. I was looking because I've got a caricature of us on the wall that some artist made, and she's not wearing glasses in that.
Okay.
Right.
So I
That's
guess at
the
that
only
point she wasn't.
thing. I'm not
Yeah.
wearing glasses.
And
Yeah.
I was wearing glasses, ironically.
Yeah,
Remember
you
I
were.
had the silver frame. Here's a weird story for you, Alan. I'd worn glasses most of my life. Then I got contacts. I ended up getting LASIK. Actually, it wasn't LASIK. It was called PRK. I was one of the first two people in Hawaii to get that procedure.
Yeah, I remember when you did that.
Yeah, and over time, though, it started to kind of lose its effectiveness,
Yep.
and I went back to wearing glasses because my doctor said he was fearful of going in and adjusting it because I could get floaters in
Oh.
my eyesight. So then we ran into a doctor at a client thing, and he goes, "Oh, I do that all the time." And then I got LASIK. So I've had PRK and LASIK.
And you can
So
see really good. How do I look, Scotty?
you'd look fabulous. I love your
Okay.
dream hat.
Yeah. Because I'm all about the big dreams. But
Yeah.
I was like yesterday I wound up like going through like I don't know. I guess every spring women just have that clock, that internal clock that's like, let's get rid of stuff. You
Uh,
know, I mean, there's such a thing as called spring cleaning. And I don't know if you guys ever get that, but like, I feel like I do every spring. I'm a little late to the game this year, but like, I started going through stuff. I found like six body lotions, all the same, unopened. I don't even like that scent, but I've got it.
because
All
it was a
right.
good deal.
It must have been a good deal.
Right.
So I'm like, wow. And now that I've had them for so many years, right? It smells really bad. It's vile. So I had to ditch those. I'm like, what else do I have? So I started going through stuff and I tell you, like, I think all of us, and I don't know if men do. I think women, the majority is women, like we'll buy stuff because it was either cheap or we think at that moment we love it or it's emotional. I really don't know. Maybe Alan can break it down, but like shit that we don't need. Like I didn't need those six bottles of lotion that just ditched. I never even used it once, but it must have been a good deal. Or maybe at the time I liked the snowball scent. I don't even know. Do you guys like, do you buy shit like that just out of impulse or like, is it a chick thing? What is it?
No, I think it's funny. I think about the razors. I mean, I've done it so many times, Hudson, where I bought things that I regret buying. But I just remember being so angry at the cost of like the Gillette razors and
They're
the refill
expensive,
for them.
right?
Oh
Like how
God.
much are razors?
I don't remember at the Costco at the time, but it was mind-blowingly expensive. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do like Harry's razors or whatever stupid, mail-in razor thing it was. And I signed up for a subscription and I totally forgot about it. And then eventually I ended up with all of these refills, but I lost the actual razor and the
Oh
company
shit.
doesn't exist anymore. So I have tons of these like little razors that I can never use. And but to your point, I guess that's a little bit different. I think people want to make themselves better. And I think sometimes it takes stuff in their heads to do it, but you don't really have to. And it makes me think of like a treadmill. And I think if anyone's listening to this, maybe it's a treadmill that you bought that you're hanging your clothes to dry on, or you got a bunch of stuff on it sitting in the corner of the room and it's so heavy and you can't even move it to another room.
Hold up.
The
Not this
goal is health.
person.
Yeah, no, no, not you. I'm just saying a lot of people purchase these items. Maybe it's a
Yeah. No,
Peloton.
it's true.
And they
Like
and
maybe because you want to think that you're going to get, I mean, you
yeah,
want to
I'm gonna
get
get a
up, you want to
juicer.
work out,
Yeah, I'm gonna
you're
get a
going to do
big
it at your
juice.
house.
Correct. Or I'm gonna get a juicer and I'm gonna juice all these healthy fruits every day and I'm gonna make it, or I'm gonna get a really good espresso maker and it's gonna be better than Starbucks. But you get lazy and then it's like the Keurig comes back. And
Well,
you
let's
spend all
let's
this.
let's back up to the razor thing. I did the razor thing too, and I actually liked the razor, and I also ended up with more cartridges than I could use. And then the razor broke, just like you said. They
Yep.
had changed the razor handle, so
Oh no. It's
it no
out of,
longer
yeah.
took those blades.
Yep. Of course they
And
do.
so then I have all of these blades I can't use. I actually contacted the company and said, "Can I get the old razor?" And it was this long process. And they finally, I think they found one and
Wow.
they sent it to me. And I was able to use up those razors. But I canceled the subscription. I said, "I don't like the new razor blades." So they lost me on that transition. You mentioned the juicer. We went into the we get this like around Christmas time, and it was glorious
Oh
until you
yeah.
realize how many boxes of fruit it takes to make a little bit of juice.
Yep.
And
Yes.
then that's when I learned an interesting lesson. I'm like, you'll see all these smoothies and they have banana in them.
Yeah.
Well, you can't juice a banana. We found that out. You stick the juice, you stick the banana in there, and it comes out the pulp side, all
Yep.
of
Yeah.
it. So I'm
I
like,
know
what do
it's
you?
not, but you know what? That juicer does make a really mean grapefruit juice. Like if you get the fresh grapefruits and then
Yeah.
put little Tito's in there, oh my
But
gosh.
how much money are you spending on fruit
Right.
to keep this
Right. Well, people go
juicer?
in. Yeah, I mean, people go into it thinking that they're going to do kale and they're going to do beets and they're going to do all these healthy foods.
And the
And
other thing is the cleanup. You have to
Oh
clean
yeah.
them
oh gosh,
after
yeah,
That's
every
a
use.
mess.
a
All
lot
those
of
little intricate parts and everything else, even like when I use my Ninja blender,
Yeah.
for stuff. But today's
You know
podcast, we're going to save you some money. What?
I was going to say the problem with that as well is you've invested a substantial amount of money to buy this juicer. Just giving it away or tossing it is not possible. So you end up with these things, these expensive things that no one will ever pay the full price for, and you don't want to give them up because you spent the money and it clogs up your life.
Yep.
It's crazy, but it's true. But I mean, it's more than just like, have you ever bought something really expensive? And again, why did I buy that? I'm going to share with you something because it's burning me up. And I know Alan is dying right now because you know I'm going to talk about it, right?
Yep.
Oh, Scotty. Okay, I love buying things. You know me, Scotty, so well. It's the
Do
whatever.
we need a backstory on how much you love to buy things? Let's get on with the story.
Okay, so the story is when we had moved to North Carolina, we really didn't have anything to do in our home, which is rare for me, as I've been a house flipper for the last, 15 years of my life, maybe more than that, like 30
So,
years of
so,
my
so
life.
do as far as home projects.
Right. Like there was
Yeah,
no real major,
I
although I
got you.
did build a frog room, which is it's called a family room above garage. That's what I didn't know that it's called a frog room. So I did that. But I thought since we're new to this area and Alan loves the water, he's a Pisces, like he really just loves the water. I really wanted to buy a boat. I grew up on a boat, like fishing with my dad. My first skateboard I bought because I won the damn pool. I caught the biggest fluke, that day on the boat. And so like, they say that like the happiest day of your life is the day that you buy a boat and the day that you sell it. And
Hmm.
so I've had many of my friends tell me this. But I went on Facebook Marketplace. Have you ever bought anything on Facebook Marketplace?
Sure, not a boat.
Okay. Okay. So so I started looking and I had a very limited budget because here I am. I gave up my full-time career doing radio in Los Angeles, and I had a little bit of savings left. And I thought, I really want to do this for Alan. Like he's had a really rough, last couple of years and he deserves this. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to find a boat and I'm going to get him this boat. And it's something that it'll be a shared gift. It'll take care of Christmas, our anniversary, and
What a setup this is.
okay, just so you understand,
Isn't
wasn't
she an amazing
expensive,
wife?
but
I
it's
love her.
expensive for
Yeah.
The
me.
way she's telling the story, it started out as she wanted a boat, then it turned into this glorious thing she's doing for Alan, who's had such a rough couple of years.
Yeah.
She's just such a giver.
She really
All
is.
right.
I mean, you can tell how much what a lover she is. That this is who Hudson is. She's always trying to make other people happy, and
Yeah.
especially Just all the stuff. Like, again, I won't get into it on this podcast, but she knows, like, not professionally, but just things that have gone on. And, I love her. That's why she was doing this. But continue, Hudson.
So I jumped at this boat. They wanted $8,000 for this Bayliner boat. And I wrote to them and I said, listen, I'm just telling you straight up, I've never owned a boat in my life. And it was a lady and her husband, family on Facebook. I checked them out, profile, I see family photos. What could go wrong? Right? I'm trusting them. And I'm like, look, I don't have $8,000. If you don't get your price and you can come down to $5,000, because that's really all I had, I'm like, I'll take the boat. I'll take it. I said it works and everything. They're like, oh, it's a perfect boat. We love this boat. We use it a lot. Unfortunately, our daughter is doing some kind of game, like sports thing, and we're not going to have a chance to use it. So I tell you what, we're going to give it to you for the $5,000. I am over the moon. And now I'm like, do I tell Alan or do I just surprise him with this boat? Because I love doing surprises, even though I can't keep a secret for very long.
A
At
boat with
least
a
for
big
a year.
bow on
But
it.
as a couples therapist, I always have these rules that you don't spend certain amounts independently without talking to each other. So I think she was nervous about that.
I
Yeah.
was. And I've known because we have great communication. And so I was a little nervous about it. And I was like, I can't. I gotta talk to Alan about this. And I brought it up. And he was like, listen, we don't have $5,000 right now. We just bought this house. And I'm like, I know, but you know what? We're not going to be doing anything. This will be our summer vacation. And finally he's like, okay, if this will be all of our, gifts and everything else, all right, let's go for it. He got so excited, like, and he was still driving. He was still driving to get here. He hadn't even gotten here yet. He was driving across country. So I bought the boat. And the guy, I asked him, I'm like, can you show me that order? He goes, you got to buy a battery. He goes, look, that's all the boat needs. It's a great running boat. The battery just needs a new battery. $120. I looked up, I'm like, okay, I believe this gentleman and his wife. So he brings the boat over. Looks great. Beautiful. Parks it in the spot. I'm so excited.
Now this is on a trailer,
It's on a
Yeah, yeah.
trailer.
My
Came with
friend,
the trailer too. With the
right?
trailer. And a little thing of receipts of doing all this work.
life preservers and some other stuff too.
Little flag for the back,
Fish
you know?
finder. Yeah,
Yeah.
it seemed pretty awesome.
Wow, fish finder. Go ahead.
Yeah. Brand new fish finder. And so to make this long fucking story short, we finally got around because now it's nice weather. We wanted to get it ready for Memorial Day weekend. You know what I mean? But prior to that, we brought somebody over and they're like, hey, we can't get this boat started. There's something missing. An electrical harness or something is missing. I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, Alan and I are just having like an anxiety attack. Like, really? How much is this boat, this 5,000 boat, going to cost us for this electrical thing? Okay. We're thinking, let's just bring it up to the marine guy. $1,200 could be our max. That was where we were going to tap out at $1,200. We figured, okay, it's probably just a couple of wirings. This guy promised me that it works. So we don't have a tow. My car doesn't have a hitch on the back. We get our neighbor to drive it up. We bring it up. I'm on my way to bring the guy the key. He goes, Hudson. He's like, no need to bring me the key. The engine is seized. This boat's worth nothing. So I bought a boat off of Facebook for $5,000. I spoke to the people who sold it to me. They said it was working perfectly fine and that I did something to it. So lo and behold, I've got a boat. We've got this boat that was our Christmas present. Okay. I didn't really get a Christmas present because we had the boat. Didn't get a Valentine's Day present really because we got a boat. I kid of all these things. But here we are with this damn boat now, and I've got to go to small claims, and I regret it so much, and I'm so mad. Why did I buy that boat? Do you know what I'm saying, Scotty? But I'm so mad. I'm so ugh, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think we all have those regrets. I don't think they're always as large as that. Maybe
Right. This
sometimes
is a
they
bad
are.
one.
Maybe, there's houses that people buy that end up, being a constant like
Money.
money pit, exact like that movie. But for me, similarly, I will say this. I have had much hope in small engines being able to be repaired. And I have bought, you look at my garage right now, there's a lawnmower, push mower, because I have the
Okay.
riding one, but around the edges, I wanted a push mower. So I got one at an estate sale and
Okay.
doesn't work. Can't get it to work. Had an engineer come over. He can't get it to work. I have a pressure washer.
Those are
Great.
good.
It's a Honda engine. And when I bought it at the estate sale, another guy comes up to me and goes, "Did you just buy that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh man, I wish I would have seen that. I missed my opportunity to sell it to him because he would have given me over what I paid. It doesn't work."
No.
I have a another like weed eater thing, a gas one.
Yeah.
So I just have this hope in my mind that these are fixable. I have no skills.
Yeah. You're
I
not
think
that guy.
somebody I know will know how to do it, but no, it's going to end up, I might
So
as well
you've
not
got like this
use.
now, you've got a garage of like equipment that doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah, I've
But
got a
we're
lot of
paying for
them.
a boat slip right now
Yeah.
for a boat that doesn't work.
Does it float?
But we don't
We
even
don't
know.
know.
We don't even know.
I
But
can't even put it on the
Got some
back of my
giant
car because I
oars
don't
out.
have a hitch.
but it sounds like we're talking about separate issues here too, which is like I've been in garage sales. I've done garage sales. If you're listening, you probably have too. And I remember my friend's mom explaining to me that like it was over a Baby Bjorn product or something like that. That if you, it was in a box still, it was like unused. And it was kind of like you don't ever at a garage sale get full value for anything. You're talking about $5 or $10. Even if you spent 300, even if you spent 500, that's what nobody's like caring. They're just putting it out there. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's broken, maybe everybody's fine with it because it's cheap. But for me, when I look at Facebook Marketplace or what's the other one that we use, Hudson?
Offer up.
Offer up.
OfferUp.
Yeah, I like offer up.
I'm looking at the integrity of people, and this was a trust issue because when I go and I make an exchange, whether it was like getting rid of a PlayStation or getting rid of, an old phone or something, I make sure those things work. I wipe them, I make sure the iPad works
Right. Me
because I'm
too.
not trying to screw someone, but at the same time in this world, sometimes there's unethical people. And I guess it's more about like what makes a person feel like they can be on their Facebook page, these great family people and parents and grandparents, whatever they were, and at the same time have no moral issue with taking money for something and lying about it. Because there's a
So,
difference between selling something that you say is working for like not $5 or $10 and knowing that it's not going to work and
But
knowing that you're
five
not going to get the
thousand
money.
dollars is a lot of money to screw somebody over.
It is.
And
I
I'm
mean,
so upset.
it's a karma thing.
I'm such like the thing about me, and I know, you know, I'm so upset with myself. I'm such a trusting individual. I'm so trusting. And I fully believed them because they seemed like a nice family by looking at their Facebook posts.
you can respond and give them a rating as well. Do you know that on Facebook
No, they didn't.
Marketplace?
They just marked it sold. They didn't even write that I sold it to them. But I have to just go to small claims court. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's a big thing. That's like the biggest purchase I've ever done, and
But
really got
sometimes I think also what you're talking about, Hudson, is that when we make big purchases as couples, and like let's say we were to do the boat thing as an example, and we can bridge this to other topics too. If a person goes independently and purchases a boat without telling their partner, it's not just the boat itself. There's the maintenance of the boat, there's the storage of the boat, there's the launching of the boat, there's all the cleaning supplies of the boat. There's a lot of other aspects that come with owning a boat that are financial. So it's not just the initial purchase, it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
So for some things, I don't know if you guys have feelings about this. Are there things in life that you do need to sort of talk about with your partner because it's not a finite price. Once you start on that investment, it just continues on. You're going to keep upgrading it and upgrading it and upgrading it. Do you know what I mean?
I think getting a pet is another
That's true.
huge, huge thing.
that is
We
another big
we
expense.
had
Great
the
example.
idea of getting a dog for our kids at one point, and we had the big talk and everything about responsibility and whose dog it was going to be and how we are going to do each.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being me walking the dog in the middle of the night and in the
Yep.
morning and feeding the dog and cleaning the dog stuff. And they like to go hi, and pet the dog.
Here's a
And
ball.
I said, well, you know
Pet,
what?
pet.
I found Snowy a new home because Snowy shouldn't be with us because we're not giving Snowy what
I remember
Snowy
Snowy.
Oh,
needs.
Yeah. The
And
Pomeranian.
it was a Japanese Spitz.
That's right.
Yeah. And so we ended up giving it to a woman had just lost her pet. And so it
Yeah,
was
she called
real.
our show. Remember? That's how she got
She,
the dog.
well, that's how we got Snowy, but the woman I gave it to, and then I got an update later, and the dog sleeps in their bed, and they're retired, and they get to hang out with her all the time. So I was very happy for Snowy the dog.
Snowy. But yeah, pets
Yeah.
expensive. But okay, aside from the expensive things, okay, I don't know what it is, but I feel like we'll buy like random shit now, like especially like my friends and I, because you've seen it, some stupid thing on TikTok or some like little closet gadget, and lots of this stuff is just like a waste of money. I want people to stop wasting money because I literally just went through a whole bunch of stuff that I
But how do
got.
you? It's easy to say that, but I mean, if those things look legit and have good reviews, you know, you think you're making a smart decision,
You think
right?
so?
Yeah.
but I
So
also
how do you
think
know?
But I think we struggle as people sometimes that we think that items will make us happy. And I think that, as they always say, like, you can buy a new car, buy a new house, buy some large purchase, and your excitement and happiness will jump straight
Oh,
up
your dopamine
at your
levels go through
dopamine
the roof.
levels. But within a couple of weeks, it will come down and normalize. And so we are constantly yearning. We were watching something yesterday where they were just talking about stuff that all our conversations are about the stuff that we purchased or the stuff that we're going to purchase and again, I
Yeah,
think this is in big
that's
cities
what he
more
said.
so.
That's what he said. He goes, my wife and I don't know who I've become. He's
Mhm.
like, all of a sudden, all of our conversations are about our stuff. The stuff that we have, where we're going to put this stuff. We're going to have to build another room for this stuff. And then we start talking about acquiring more stuff. And that's it. And all this stuff. And what does it amount to? It doesn't amount to happiness. Maybe that instant gratification, like for me, I get so high, like next level, like buying something. I
Yeah.
don't know what that is, and not even for me. I love giving gifts to people. I really do. I love going and if I see something, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this for my neighbor because my neighbor will love this.
Mhm.
Do I need to buy a gift for my neighbor? No, I
No.
don't.
I mean, words are free, and I wish more
Yeah.
people, actually praised their friends and family and actually verbalized out loud their value, because I think we'd all be a lot happier if we understood how much we meant to people. But stuff is stuff, and I always say that to people, money comes and goes, and yeah, I mean, look, we all eat things. I know as an entrepreneur myself, I've definitely lost money in business ventures where I've spent money here, it didn't work out, spent money there, it didn't work out, spent money over at this place, and it did. And you sort of just absorb it. You absorb the bad website developer, or you absorb, other aspects of life. But I think that when people really base value on money, like whether it just be their clothes or their video camera, their phone,
Well, listen here.
it's a
I,
lie.
I like my clothes.
No, no, no.
My,
It's not about liking it. It's about, are these the things that make you happy? Or
oh,
can you be the kind
yes.
of person who sits outside for free and watches dogs play? Can you be the person who, reads their favorite book and, eats a donut? I don't know. Like everyone has like a way that they sort of let go of things that is not expensive and not, with any acquisition. But for some reason, as a society, and maybe this is just our culture, we keep thinking that we need to consume things to make ourselves full, but we always are hungry.
Well, I think one of the things that my wife and I have done a lot of is we'll say, "Hey, that was a good purchase." We'll say that to each other. Like we made a decision on a flooring, for example, and we go, "That was good. I'm glad we did that."
Yep.
We bought this tool and we find ourselves using the tool and we're like, "That was a good purchase."
Mhm.
And a lot of times now as we buy things, we say, "Is this for now or do we see ourselves using this and enjoying this later?" Because if it's just for now, then maybe you can borrow it
Yep.
from someone. And we had that discussion last night in our garage. We're doing a project, and I go, she goes, "What tool do we need?" And I said, well, it's this tool. And then she goes, will we continue to use that tool? We had that discussion
Yeah.
because we've gotten caught so many times with the thing that you buy once and
Mhm.
And
then you
never
never
used
use
again.
again.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, exactly. And because we just did the same thing. We actually, for whatever reason, our grass really wasn't growing all winter long here. Even though it's warm where we live here. We live in North Carolina. Our grass finally got a little out of control, and we had borrowed the neighbor's lawnmower. Because we didn't know if we were going to have somebody to do the lawn, because I've always had someone. And so we borrowed their lawnmower, and I actually enjoyed mowing the lawn, believe it or not. I really loved it.
Yeah, it's
Okay. There was
fun.
something very therapeutic for me about it, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know. It also reminded me of being a kid and doing it with my dad. Maybe fond memories. But so we talked about this and we're like, okay, if we get somebody to mow our little strip of damn grass, it's going to be what, $100 a month? Or we can do it ourselves and buy this lawnmower. It's Memorial Day weekend, there's a sale. We can get it and we don't have to hire somebody. And we can just do it. We can take turns and do it.
Mhm.
So we decided upon getting a lawnmower, and it's coming actually, I think today. But it was good. I think this is a good purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing there, you can use the math. You can say, how many months does it take of paying someone to buy our own thing?
Yeah,
And that would pay it off. And really, we're making money in a way, if you think of it
right.
that way.
It's true.
But you also have to remind each other that you made this decision, because when it's 100 degrees and it's time to get out there and do some work,
And do some mowing.
Yep.
you got to be
Yeah.
able to push through and fulfill your promise.
Yeah. No, but it's true. I think that, having those conversations, is this for now? Is this something we're going to use right now? Are we going to use this again? I think
But
that we
for
all have good intentions.
but
What's
for
that?
like for couples listening, like I understand what Scotty's saying as far as, I look at that drill that I bought, and I bought a crappy one and I have a really good one now. And as a homeowner for the last however many years, that I use that drill all the time. And so it's become
And
something
it's
that
very sexy.
I
When
can't.
Ellen uses the drill, I don't know what it is about
Yeah.
men and tools. There is something sexy when a
Yeah.
guy busts out that drill. It's like, oh,
And so no, well, it's like there's things you buy that are for the home, whether it be like a drill, or maybe it's a little robot vacuum, or maybe it's just things that but to me, the thing that I get into with couples, and it even came up this week, was when people are buying things independently. And again, is there a number that is fair for a couple? Like this, for anybody listening, maybe you have a number with your spouse or your partner,
do you have
but
a number with Angie?
if
Like if
you're
you're going to
buying
buy
something,
something?
what's the number of, once you cross that number, you have to tell her. And if it's under that number, you could make the purchase and inform her.
That's a good question. I know when we first got married, we had a really low number. And I remember when I broke that number the first time. And what had happened was I ended up going to an event in Waikiki,
Yeah.
and ends up the event was going to be like later, but I had to check in early, but I had to dress really nice for it. But I knew I was going to be there like 2 hours early.
The
So
the
then I
shirt,
thought,
the Kamehameha shirt. I know.
no, this is not it. The gym was right down the road. So I said, I'll just go to the gym. So I started looking through my gym bag to go put on the gym clothes. I hadn't brought my tennis shoes. And so I couldn't wear my dress shoes with my workout stuff. So I went to a store in Waikiki and bought a pair of tennis shoes. And then I had to have that trepidation of explaining this to Angie, and knowing that I didn't have to go to the gym. I could have just been bored and sat around for 2 hours, but I felt like I needed to purchase these shoes. I went through all of that in my mind. It was difficult to have that conversation, but that wasn't a major purchase by any stretch, but it was significant,
Yeah, they
at that
probably weren't
time.
cheap sneakers. Yeah. But
Yeah,
so what's the number? What is the number for you guys that you have to have an actual conversation? And this is maybe something for somebody else to take away and go, okay, let's make this our number so that
Exactly.
if something is over $500, that is a conversation that we need to have because that's a significant amount of money. That's
yeah.
money that we could be spending on bills or whatever. So like
I don't know
our
what the
number is
number
$500.
is. I don't know what the number is, but I know when we've crossed it.
Scotty's in the doghouse at that point.
Right. There's this I want to talk to you about this. That sort of thing starts to come up. Or we get those, you get those push alerts from your bank
Mhm.
saying this came through, and I'm like, wait, what? You know, and
What is
there'll be a
that?
text message. What was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No, but
So, but you need to be able to have that conversation and not hold it against them and go, oh, now I get to go spend a whole bunch of money.
that's a good point. Yeah,
no, but
go.
Alan, you deal with this a lot. I'm sure money is probably a really big, conversation in within, therapy,
Oh, it is.
couples therapy, right?
It's huge, and everyone has different incomes, but it could be the purchase of somebody buying a new car, not and then just letting their partner know, oh, I got a new car, a sports car. And maybe they're wealthy and they can afford it, but is it disrespectful to just inform your partner that you bought a new car or that you're about to purchase a new boat? Or, and when we say not the boat that we're talking about for $5,000, like a brand new boat that could be like $100,000.
Right.
Do you just
How to bring up the
people
boat
who
again?
are there's people who are
Burns me up.
multimillionaires and their number is going to be different. As a rule of thumb for me, I feel like anything over $500 has exceeded just being like, a day at an amusement park or a day at a spa or a day, like it's something else at that point. And again, I don't want people to feel controlled or that your partner is your parent, but I don't think it's a big deal to tell your partner that you're looking at purchasing something that's going to be about $600 because everybody has to budget. And you guys would be surprised by how many couples I see that don't budget at all and never have.
You know, it's funny you brought this car thing up because I always said this, and then they did a Saturday Night Live sketch about it as well, and I thought it was so right on the money. Who are these people that can say, come outside, and then there's a car with a bow on it? Because my wife would freak out
Mhm.
if, what did you just do? So I remember a time when I got her a really nice car. I say I got her because I was the one that initiated. I knew she needed one, and I selected a quality car that I thought would keep her safe and all this. And so I go and I said, I want you to come to the dealership. And we had the discussion. We went through all the process. Then when they delivered it, I said, can you put a big bow on it? And they did. And we got a picture of her with the big bow in the car. But that
You're
was
one of those
not,
people. You're that guy with the
You got
bow
the
on the
pick.
but that was
car.
not because she wasn't involved and I just went and bought a car. There's no way I would have done that.
I know. It's insane. When I see somebody, hey, surprise, here's your new
Right.
car.
I just bought
Like
Right.
a, yeah, I just bought a
I
timeshare.
need to pick out, I need to sit in it. I need to see how my butt feels, in the
Mhm.
seat. It's got to be a certain color. Like there are so many variables that like Alan, even as well as he knows me, he couldn't just go to the store and buy me a car.
I'll tell you another thing about my wife, and I think you'll appreciate this, Alan, too, is she doesn't care about name brand things or
She's
whatever.
very lucky.
And so I remember going to a store and she said, I need to get some black dress shoes or something. And so she was ready to buy this plasticky, terrible shoe. And I'm like, okay, let's do some math here, honey. You're going to buy this shoe, and then in a couple of months, you're going to buy shoe, and then in a couple of months, you're going to buy shoes. Why don't we just take all that money and put it into a good quality pair of shoes that you can wear for a longer period of time? And
Mhm.
she just couldn't get her mind around spending that much money for shoes. But to me, it even made math sense.
Can I just share
So,
something? Yeah. No.
yeah.
Okay. That's very important. And when you purchase clothing, I mean, like as of late, because I'm really tiny now, I'm like real, I work out like a fiend. Like I just worked out like a crazy woman this morning. Clothes that I had 30 years ago, I'm wearing now. I'm wearing clothes from 30 years ago that are size two. So those clothes have held up because they were good quality. Good is good. And that's the
Yep.
thing. So it's better to spend a little bit more on quality. And it doesn't have to be a name brand. It really has to do with the quality.
Yep.
So if it does happen to be a brand that you love and it is, a little flashy, if it is quality and it's made really well, it'll last you 30 years. I brag about this all the time to Alan. I'll bust out shit and I'll be like, you know how old this is? It's 35 years old. I've had this for 35 years and I wear it proudly. So I'm with you on that. If it costs a little bit more, you wind up in the end saving. But I do remember you wound up getting a beautiful selection of shoes, high-end shoes for your wife. Do you remember that, Scotty, and how you did that?
Nope.
You don't? The drag
No.
race?
I have no memories of this. What are you talking about?
You did not forget because I've got the videos and pictures. We had this amazing relationship with this really high-end shoe store at Ala Moana, which is our gorgeous mall, outdoor mall. Beautiful, stunning. And Scotty got dressed in drag and ran around the mall in high heels and full on drag to win shoes for his wife. And he did.
I'm
He
gonna
did, no, he
say
wasn't alone. He was
I'm
not
gonna say yes and no to this story. She
okay.
always has a little bit more that she adds to her stories. I did
Okay.
not run around the mall,
Did you
nor did I
walk?
have high heels. I had flats, and I dressed like a schoolgirl that with stuff I bought at Goodwill. Now, let me tell
She
you,
was the ugliest woman
let,
I've ever seen. I
let
kid
me
you not.
let
There's
me
no
tell you.
way you could ever be like
Here-
you could never be a lady boy.
no,
Like
I couldn't.
never you
Here,
couldn't move to the Philippines and become one. I just watched 90 Day Fiance, so that terminology is in my head because we're watching a situation right now where he was a guy and then
I would never be
transition.
confused. No. So we get to the mall and we go to this back area of the mall no one ever sees, like the catacombs behind the stores. And I have to go change into this outfit.
Yeah.
Now, my wife and two at the time young sons were with me. So dad goes into the bathroom and then comes out in this outfit. And I remember there was no words, there was no conversation. It was just us walking down the hall. Dad is suddenly dressed with balloons and the whole bit. I
Oh
I
my
come
God.
out of behind the store with my hand and kind of do this sensual little shaky of
Oh
the
my
hand,
God. It was
step
something else.
out.
I have video of it.
Oh
I
God.
do this dance. Then we go back into the catacombs. I put on my regular clothes and we leave and we get in the car. And my sons have said nothing to me. And I've said nothing to them. And I was like, well, what do you guys want to do? So it to me is one of those things I would still wonder, do they
Oh.
even know that happened? Do they remember?
I wonder if they remember, but you know what it was? It was
What's
it was
that?
for we did a drag race for to raise money for breast cancer too. And you would
Yeah.
win shoes if you got dressed up in drag with Scotty, and a bunch of dudes did. And they won shoes for their wives, and people came down, and money that were people spent on the shoes all went to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. But yeah, that's really funny that you never had that conversation. Wife's dad.
I know. Now it's like I'm so distracted by the thought of Scotty dressed as a woman with balloon
Oh,
boobs
and
and
I
high
can tell
heels,
you,
and his
you know,
walking with his sons, and the sons
Yes.
not saying anything and
Yes.
acting normal. That this is just what Dad wore today. You know, he could
Yeah.
have put on a Yankee shirt, could have put on anything, chose this, but you know.
chose this for today. And he's the most horrific looking female. Like there wasn't like there's some people who could get away with it, and cute. Scotty was just damn ugly, ugly
Oh my
as a
gosh.
woman. And it was the outfit that you chose. It was
Man,
dowdy. You looked like Mrs. Doubtfire.
I
Mhm.
totally want to disagree. I can't. I just want to, and I
Yeah.
don't know how I would feel if I was an attractive woman, and then I would be like, then I'd
Oh,
be, am I insulted now that I'm not an attractive? I
no,
don't
don't
know.
be
We don't
insulted.
know. We could ask AI to turn you into a woman because maybe we're wrong on this one, Hudson, and he actually is a
Yeah,
beautiful woman. And
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe he just
AI is going to
dressed,
show us that.
maybe he dressed down on
Hey,
us. You know what I'm
maybe
He
it
had
was
saying?
the
Not
facial
really
hair
showing
off.
off that true beauty
He's
that
it
got
was
those
the wrong
beautiful
it was the wrong
eyes.
fit. It
Yeah.
was the wrong
oh
fit.
God, funny stuff. But again, going back to it, I loved that shoe store. And again, another situation. I bought so many pairs of shoes from that place all the time. And like I have so many shoes. Do I need all of those shoes? No. Like how did I
Well, what do
there's
you
gotta
do?
No,
What do
be
like
you
even
do
even a
about it?
collectible, like people who go out and like to get comics or get historical
Yeah.
items, and they don't tell their spouse. It's like, oh, but I got a good deal on it, or it was at an auction, or it's still money. Whether
What?
when somebody tells you something is worth $10,000, that's only if someone hands you $10,000.
Yes.
If you paid it $5,000 for it, it's still $5,000. And so you pretending that, oh, I can flip it, I can sell it. As anybody knows who's ever tried to sell something, it is very hard to get the number that you think it's worth.
Is it Poshmark? Is that the name of the place that you can send
Yes,
your
I love Poshmark.
expensive things? But people make it seem like they're doing such an amazing thing for themselves.
Mm.
Look, I turned this into this. Yeah, but how much did you pay for that originally?
Right. No, it's
You-
true. I will tell you this. This is true. You've bought it. Now you're going in your closet. You've seen stuff that's still hanging, still has tags on it. You picked it up some probably at Ross because it was such a good deal, but you hated it. You didn't like the flower pattern, or it had a V-neck, and you don't like showing off your boobs. Whatever it is. But there it sits in your closet. Now you're going to do what with it? Do you think you're going to get the 15.99? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? Like but you've got stuff. And does it make you happy? My stuff does.
Yeah, I mean it's vacation planning. It's there's a lot of ways that people have to collaborate with their partner on purchases and make those decisions. Are we going to spend more on flights? Are we going to spend more on hotels? Are we going to spend more on restaurants? Are we trying to go on a beach vacation? Are we going to go with friends? If we're going to buy a lift ticket, and that's an annual for that, or these are all very expensive items. And I think that the couples do need to have an understanding of if we go to this location what's included in it. Does that include food and drink? Are we
All
buying food and
inclusive,
drink?
comfort in.
I'm all in favor of all inclusives, and especially like we go to Mexico,
We know this about you,
you
Alan.
know you know that about me anyway.
Previous
I
podcasts, and
like a
I'm
free
married to
breakfast. Everyone's gonna know that about Alan is that he likes a free breakfast when he's traveling.
Chic
But
hotel.
but truthfully, making a timeshare purchase or purchasing a Caribbean vacation or purchasing a European cruise, those are the kind of things that exceed that $500 number. And while I love the assertiveness of a partner who wants to plan big for their partner to do great things, and I always encourage that. I just think it's fair to have a discussion when it's above 500. That's just my number in particular. If you're going to buy shoes and they're $400, you're going to get your hair colored and it's $300, that's fine. It's when you cross 500 that it's not even like I'm daddy. It's just be a cool partner. Like because it will affect where the money goes in other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and everybody, as you said, their number is going to be different,
Yeah.
whatever that comfort number is. And I mean, there's also the sneaking things into the house that you bought that you don't let them know until later. I'm looking at Hudson and
I,
guys
you
too,
know,
golf clubs. Golf clubs a perfect example. There's guys I knew that would buy a new driver and then put it in his bag, and then his wife brings it up. Is that a new driver? No, I've had that for quite a while.
Yeah.
And he did because he snuck it in and had it for quite a while, but he didn't bring it up to her when he bought it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I don't see,
Guitars.
you know what? That's one thing I can honestly say I've never done.
I think
I've never been like sneak it in or hide it in my car. But I have so many girlfriends
no,
that
she
have done
doesn't. Hudson does not keep secrets. That's one
that.
thing that's
Yeah.
great about her. If you're listening, Hudson is always Hudson. But it's true. I've seen people with these crazy guitars in their background sometimes on therapy, or they've got surfboards, and they're not cheap to buy new surfboards, and they're not cheap to have guitar collections, but they don't always tell their wives. And I'm sure there's a consequence to that because, they're all in one room and they're all on display. And maybe they did talk about it, maybe they didn't, but I do think that it's fine to be a collector. It's fine to have passion about certain things. But what's wrong with talking to your partner about it? What is the difficulty? If your partner is always saying no to things, then that's a different discussion too. Because I do understand that people want to still live life. They're not trying to just save everything till they die. So you do have to spend money sometimes to have adventures and to have experiences and to go and do things with other couples or to go and do things for yourselves. But again, it's not always money, but it is sometimes.
So okay, so for the women and for the men that are looking at their stuff right now, a lot of stuff. They purchased it because it made them happy at that moment. How do you change that? How do you help somebody change from buying unnecessary stuff? Like I know for myself, like over, I don't know, I would say over the last 8 years, I haven't gone to a clothing store to actually physically walk in and buy clothes. I buy everything off of eBay or thrift stores. I kid you not. I can't remember. I think the last store that I was in was over a year ago, back in LA, it was called M. Frederick, and I wanted to get some Free City sweatpants before I moved, because that's where I would buy them. But like for me, I buy everything off of eBay. I'm just like I now like won't overpay for anything. Do you know what I'm saying? So like my values have really changed. And again, I'm still going through things that I've had for so many years because I hang on to my things, but I have a lot of stuff. And I remember those days of going on these whims and running over and buying it and then doing what? Leaving it in a box and not even using it. You know what I mean? Keeping it, I got it, but what good is it?
I
How do you
remember
stop doing that?
I think what really changed me, Hudson, to be very minimalist when it comes to stuff is that I remember a few years ago, my house almost burnt down and it was very close and also being robbed. And I think in both of those scenarios, it makes you think about what would you take if you had to just take something and go. You know, you've got your pets, you've got your kids, you've got, your loved ones. But what would you take? Would you take the TV and the art and I mean, you may not be able to. And I think that's when you finally realize, what's really important. It's your passport, it's your birth certificates, it's, the things that are really for your family, your bank statements, your stock stuff, your crypto stuff, whatever it is that you have in your, safe that would be in your go bag. But it's not usually like we got to take the Restoration Hardware couch and we've got to take the, whatever. It's,
Oh,
marble.
Alan, you know that damn couch is coming with us. It's
The
the
point that
first
I'm
thing
making
out the door.
is that it teaches you a lot sometimes about if you had to leave with nothing, what's really important. And so, yes, stuff can serve a purpose. I like that there's coffee machines that make coffee. I like that there's computers that I can do work on. And I like, I do like taking vacations and I like scuba diving and I like going to the ocean. But so I'm not anti-money. I think that I'm hoping to get out of this is communication, and I think that's the thing that we as couples need to do with each other is talk about our values, what makes us happy, and and sometimes it is stuff and it's fine, but what is the number that's not going to create resentment?
Well, I think one of the pieces of advice that I think is still a great piece of advice is give it 24 hours.
Hmm.
When you're torn on buying something, just say, hey, let me come back in a day and see if I still feel the same way.
Yeah.
Sometimes the passion, that excitement that you mentioned earlier, your
Yeah, your
adrenaline gets
endorphins are
going,
going crazy.
and then there's that
Good
that
feelings.
and then there's that fear of, oh, it may not be here, or what is all
Right.
these things. And if you can get through
Fear of
that
missing out.
and
FOB.
make a wiser decision that way, or do some research and stop. That's what I've done is I'll stop myself because, oh, I want that bad. I gotta have that pressure washer. My wife knows this. I need a pressure washer right now. So that's why I tried to buy it at the estate sale because it was a good deal. I've looked at Lowe's, I've looked online, I've looked at Amazon, and I keep stopping myself from pushing a button because I need to make a wise decision. And it's easy to just solve that want right now, but I'm not going to allow myself to do it till we can both feel good about it.
Yeah. That's
So
no,
we
that's a
could,
good point that you're bringing up too, the researching of things, because I think a lot of times we think something's a good deal when it's in front of our face. And I remember once living on a slope and having to get the slope cleared, and the range of prices to get that slope cleared were anywhere from $400 to $3,000. And that was like five different people I talked to. $400 to $3,000.
isn't that
Yep.
insane? Just to
That's a
clear like
pretty
your
big
land in the
differential.
back.
Yeah, but I mean, exactly. I mean, it's not an easy job to clear a slope. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. But the point that I'm making is that if I had spent the $3,000, is that without talking to my partner, is that the right thing to do? Or do I need to get like two or three quotes to show them that at least I'm not being like what you said, 24 hours, I'm not being impulsive. I'm doing it, I'm doing the research to get it at the best price, the best model, and this is the purpose in the future that it's going to serve us. It's not just a one and done, great Saturday night and that's it, and we'll never see it again, like pie face.
I'm gonna give you another tip, at least for my girlfriends. This works for me, and I've been doing this forever. I will get a cart no matter where I'm at, okay? Whether it's the Salvation Army, Goodwill, doesn't matter. I will find a cart, Nordstrom Rack. I get the cart. And if I see something, I'll put it in the cart to think about it. All right. And you've been with me, Alan, and I put things in the cart and then I get rid of them, right?
Yeah, totally.
I literally will get rid of them. I walk around and every time I stop and see something new, I'll look at that other item and I'll go, do I really need this? Do I really love this? No. It's going to end up in that drawer that with the stuff that I don't use. And then I'll put it back. And then I'll add something else to the cart. And by the time I'm done, okay, rolling around and I do that scenario, I mean, people look at me because I'm always talking to myself and looking crazy. But I find that I don't make the purchase. I wind up leaving with just the one thing. And even when I get to the line, I'm standing there and I'm saying to Alan, nah, I'm not going to get it. And I put it out, let's go. And then I'm out the door. I don't know what happens, but I tend to do that. I think that especially in this temperature, in this economy, however you can cut back on spending on stuff that you don't need. And I get the feeling that you get that high when you're sad or depressed. That feeling is there, but I think there's other ways to get that dopamine. Work out, get on your
Well,
treadmill.
it reminds me a little bit of when I
That's
was
the
when
best.
CD when I was a kid and I would buy CDs or as an adult buying books. If you buy three or four at the same time, you never really get into any of them, if that makes sense. Or you'll start them and they'll be sitting there. It's only when you do it one at a time that you listen to that album over and over and over again, and then you start to like the other songs better than the one that's on the radio, and and you get passionate about it. And I think sometimes with accumulation, it's about really just getting one thing and being really excited about that one thing as opposed to getting five. And then, you're just happy you accumulated, but it's not, I think it's kind of like if you have kids right now and they're young and there's a birthday party and they got all these presents, most parents will put those presents in the closet and give the kid one present at a time so that the kid can play with the Legos. And then when they're done with that, then you give them the other game, or then you give them the big wheel or whatever it is. But if you gave it to a child all at the same time, they really wouldn't get into any of it. There wouldn't be a favorite toy. There probably wouldn't be passion. And so I think as adults, we're not that different than kids.
So Hudson, did you put the things back where you got them in the store?
Mm,
Okay, we move on.
Yes.
yeah, I don't think I did. I'm
No,
just being honest. I don't think I did. I think I just go,
I
I
think you
can't. I'm
did
sorry. I'm so sorry if you work in retail
too.
and I've hit your store. That's me.
But if
If
you
you,
work in restaurants, she always cleans the table. She will never leave a spot on the table. So if you're a waitress or
I
a waiter
don't.
listening to this,
Yeah.
she is the best.
I swear. I literally will take your plate. I will stack the plates. I will wipe
Mhm.
the table down.
Yep.
I'm that person. I have OCD very bad, I think, right? Would you think it's OCD, Alan, about cleanliness?
No, I think you're very concerned with not wanting to inconvenience people. And I think that's whether it's a stranger or a person you know, you're always thinking of other people. And I think that brings us all the way full circle to that boat is when you are a positive person and you want other people's lives to be better. And I think about that. I've waited tables before, I've bussed tables before, I've been a delivery driver. So I always treat people in those professions with a lot of respect because I've been there. And I think that's something that I've always loved about Hudson is the way she treats people. I don't know if that's OCD. I think that's more just you don't want to make somebody's life worse than before they met you.
Yeah.
Aw, thanks, Alan. That
You're
was really
welcome.
nice. All right, your turn, Scotty. No, I'm kidding. I was
I
really
got
enjoying
nothing.
that. I was enjoying that moment there. So I was waiting for you to chime in. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but I think that we're all guilty of, buying stuff that we don't need. And, I got a bread machine that I swore I was going to use every day
Mhm.
and make bread. It lasted for like a couple weeks. It just
Yep.
became a nightmare to clean. And again, the little parts and everything else. I did buy it though on OfferUp used. All right. So I did buy it for 30 bucks. Didn't spend the $100 on it. So I got my $30 out of it, and that's the end of that. Anybody need a bread maker? I got you. But yeah, I do want to give a shout out. This was a good podcast, I think, to just talk about conversations, especially when it comes to money and spending and buying stuff, have these conversations. Chances are your partner's going to be like either talking you out of it because you really don't need it, or they'll be on board because you do need it and it'll be something cool. But the boat situation, like,
Boy.
So who's your shout out?
oh, hold on a second. Just got sidetracked. Now my screen closed up. Okay. Julia Dean Kramer. She's from Hawaii. and she loves listening to us. Listened to us for many, many years, and we're so excited that we're doing this podcast. And she's waiting for us to be able to go live so she could call in, which we're working on. Julia Dean Kramer. Julia Dean Kramer on Facebook. Thank you so much for
Oh, thank you.
liking,
Yeah.
subscribing, and sticking with us and coming on back to hang out. That's sort of cool.
Yeah. So Instagram, Facebook, all these different places, Mike and
YouTube.
Mind, and of course on YouTube.
Yeah.
We mentioned last time you can still comment there even if you just listen to the audio.
By the way, I should let you both know, and I should let everybody know, because again, I'm not techie at all. But I just realized that if you were to search us out on YouTube, you couldn't find us all these weeks. Do you know why?
Why?
Right.
We weren't on public. So the only way that you're able to get us is by getting the link from either our Instagram or our Facebook. I'm so happy right now that we've had so many streams and listens considering we were not public. I
Crazy.
mean,
Are we now?
we are now. And it takes
Okay, all
24
right.
hours. It takes 24 hours for it to take effect.
Okay.
But if you've tried searching us, and we really do exist on YouTube, I swear. So all these streams and everything are coming from our friends on Facebook and Instagram. So again, and some new people who are finding us just because they're like, oh, what is this? So
Yeah.
again, thank you. Please like, subscribe. It'll change our algorithm, which it really needs help right now because I've been on private for the last month.
Right.
Yeah, not good. Not good. But again, I'm Hudson Hott, Scotty Blaisdell, Alan Wagner, LMFT. We are Mike and Mind, your weekly brain download. Talk about random stuff. And we hope you dig the podcast. Leave a message, and we'll respond to you. We really will. Peace in the chicken grease.
See ya.
See ya.